Gratitude, the quality of being thankful, readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. Today, we're talking about being a grateful husband or wife. Now, before we unpack this episode a little bit further, I want to make you aware of marriagedrills.com. This is my website where I post all kinds of information to keep you up to date with how you can continue growing your relationship. And if you're interested in couples coaching or one-on-one coaching, you can sign up for that through my website, marriagedrills.com. You can also send me an email. Check the description box below. Now, gratitude. In marriage, it's easy to overlook certain things that our spouse does. It's easy for us to go through our day to day and not really focus on our wife or be grateful for what she does. And same thing can happen for our wives to the husbands. And needless to say, this can lead to an argument. This can lead to a fight. This can lead to all sorts of issues. And it's all because you just don't feel appreciated in the marriage. So if that's where you are today, then I'm here to say, one, yes, you can absolutely overcome this challenge. Don't worry so much about if you guys had a fight yesterday and you're listening to this today and you're like, okay, I want to fix this big problem. No, let's work on small problems and then work our way up. I already talked about that, so I'm not going to go into that again. But what we will look at today when we talk about gratitude are really two major concepts: what we say with our words and what we do with our actions. This builds back to that communication information that we talked about in part one. So if you have not already checked that out, then I do recommend you go and check that out. You don't have to stop this to go do that, but you definitely want to go check that out if you have not already. So why show gratitude on our marriage? Very simply put, and I already alluded to it, that when we have less appreciation for our spouse, typically turns into some form of argument or complication in the marriage. But when we show a genuine appreciation for what he or she is doing, then that reciprocates a level of appreciation that is received. Now, this is good practice to building trust in the marriage. If you are focusing on building trust in your marriage, it starts with these small things, right? Trust is not something that you earn because you did one big thing and now it's like, yay, I trust you. No, it's in the small things that build into the larger goal of making a trusted relationship with someone. All right. That's the reason why we want to show gratitude, because it starts to build that reciprocated love and appreciation for one another, where trust naturally starts to form. Okay. Now, I do want to be clear that when we talk about gratitude, it's not a I scratch your back, you scratch my back concept or philosophy. Instead, it's a I see what you've done, and I, out of my appreciation for that, want to take action or let you know that I see that. And in return, the individual on the receiving end feels valued, that, you have seen what they're doing and it didn't go void. Now, I do want to put a very, very big disclaimer here. As husband and wives, we do not own or set the determination of value for our spouse, period. I don't care what culture you're from. The husband does not set the value for the wife, and the wife does not set the value for the husband. All right. Our value is innate to us or inherent to us through God and God alone. When I'm talking about the value in the relationship, it's that someone sees that this person brought something to the relationship and it was honored and cherished in a way. And that's why we show gratitude. All right. I'm not talking about the worth of a person because that's not what I'm talking about with gratitude as a whole. If you got questions, just send me an email, and I will be more than happy to help unpack that a little bit further. But hopefully that made sense. Now, the last thing that I want to make note of before we dive a little bit deeper into these individual concepts is when you are showing gratitude, you have to make sure that you go back to your tone and your word selection. We talked about that in the communication episode. So, again, if you haven't seen that or listened to that one, go back and take a listen or watch that one because it's important to understand the tone and context, right? When you are trying to uh, appreciate someone, you have a different tone than when you are upset, right? So that should be a no brainer. It's probably something that you'll pick up on and be like, oh, yeah, I got that. I just wanted to make sure that I shared that before we got into this. So the very first one is let your spouse know with your words. All right. This is the first concept. Let your spouse know with your words. And when I talked, talk is still cheap, right? It's still less valued than actions. However, in the concept of showing gratitude, talk is actually pretty valuable because no matter what, it's going to lead to a conversation of some sort if you start to build your conversational skills, right? So you could say, hey, I seen you out there pulling the weeds out of the garden bed. Thank you, right? So that's you showing the gratitude. And that's as simple as it needs to really be. And then that can lead into, oh, well, I appreciate that, or you're welcome. And then that makes that person feel like, and I hate to say like we're engineering feelings and stuff like that, because that is never my goal. I never want to engineer feelings, but in some small regard, that is actually true. We are engineering feelings just a little bit. So the point that I'm trying to make here is when we run into the idea of showing gratitude for the small things, it will return or be reciprocated by our spouse, and they will be more likely to do that thing more often. All right. Uh, but that's typically driven by the fact that you made them feel good about the thing that they did. And that is not my favorite way of saying that. So, what are some other ideas that you can look for when you say it with your words? And if you hear kids in the background, uh, the office window that is literally right here is right next to a bus stop, and the kids are getting ready to go to school. So, yeah. But some of the ways that you can show gratitude is one, when your spouse does the laundry, you can say, hey, thank you for washing the clothes. That really helps because we all need clean clothes. And it's one of those things in my house. Sometimes, it does that to me. And I just open the drawer and my stuff is in there. But uh, when you get the opportunity to say, hey, thank you for taking the time out of your day to make sure that the clothes are clean, that goes a long way. All right. And it doesn't matter who's doing it. This is not a gender role type thing. This is mutual across the board. If the husband is doing the laundry, then as the wife, you should say, thank you for doing it. And if your wife is doing the laundry as a husband, you should say, thank you for doing it. Other examples, I already said cutting the grass or pulling the weeds out of the garden, buying groceries. We all need food in our homes. So don't be afraid to say thank you for buying groceries. All right. Planning trips. Now, this is a big one because if there's anyone in if your spouse plans trips for you guys to go on and you're not saying thank you, uh, the next trip may not be planned so well. So, highly recommend that you appreciate the fact that someone is taking the time to plan the trips for you. And then being kind to parents or other family members. Now, it is not uh, like I understand that there are family members that are challenging to get along with. And when you marry into a family, you are truly marrying the family. And that comes with its own challenges at times. So just understanding, like, hey, you know what? It's a good thing that you're getting along with my family. You should probably verbalize that in some way so that your spouse knows, like, oh yeah, this is nice. Like, I tell my wife all the time, hey, thank you for, just checking on my mom and caring for her. And my sister, right? uh my wife does that. And for me, that's a huge like, they have a great relationship, uh so that's also a plus. And obviously, if you guys are having challenges with in-laws, I do have an episode about how to deal with in-laws, and how, as husband and wives, we should be focusing on that. But moral of the story, if there is a good relationship there, we should be appreciating it and being grateful that our spouse is doing something to make that a value added relationship. So don't be afraid to let them know. Now, some of the ways you can tell your spouse you acknowledge what they are doing and appreciate it. So those were examples of things that we can appreciate. Now, how do we say the appreciation? In very simple context, one, you can write this on a sticky note or an index card and place it in a place where they'll see it. That's like one of the easiest ways. Now, if you want to verbally tell them, you could verbally tell them. Again, choose your tone and your word selection. And when you're writing it out, you should definitely choose your word selection. Uh, and don't be afraid to make it something that is cute to your relationship, and personal to your relationship. There's no reason that you have to say your your gratitude statements the way that someone else would. Like, say it the way that your wife would receive it, or that your husband would receive it, and be like, oh man, she really gets it, or he really gets it, whatever. All right. That's the point, that is the goal that you're going for. Other ways, you can text it to them. We're in this digital age. You can send them a text message. On Wednesdays at noon, I send my wife a text message, and it's not always. Sometimes it's just emojis, right? That's an idea, something that you can try. But texting your appreciation to them for the small things, then you can do that. And then write them an email. Writing an email, if that's something that you guys are into, then go for it. Send an email, and it can even, make sure that this is appropriate for the line of work, but maybe send it to the work email so it pops up while they're in the middle of their work. And again, make sure that it's appropriate. But you can send it to a work email, and then they can just read that. All right. Now, one of the things that I probably should have mentioned earlier, now that we're about halfway through the episode, what you're going to want to do is write down the small things that you see. All right. And the reason you have to write it down is you can't appreciate something if you're not identifying what the thing is. And you don't want to make this up or just pull it out of thin air. You want to actually, like, intentionally say, okay, that's happening. I see that. Yes, that is a thing. And then you move forward from there. All right. And then you tell her, or you tell him, that you appreciate whatever that thing is. All right. So just had to back that up for a second. But moving along with the verbal, uh, choose choose whatever out of those categories, choose the one that works the best for you and your relationship. All right. Doesn't matter which one you use. In fact, you could use all of them and vary it. So then it brings a little bit more excitement. Like you see how loving your spouse can be fun. Like, it's like, you know what? Today I'm going to send her an email, or today I'm going to send him a text message. You know what? I'm going to tell him today, or I'm going to write a sticky note tomorrow, whatever. This works. All right. It sounds a little quirky, but it works. Now, the last thing that I want to make mention of is this is in addition to saying thank you for the big things. All right. Don't let those go to the wayside. The big things truly do matter as well. So this is in addition to those. All right. Now, moving on to the actions. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on actions. And the reason for that is if you've listened to the communication episode, then you'll know that actions speak louder than words. I just wanted to show the value of your words, which in some way, shape, or form are also considered actions. But I just wanted to, go over some techniques because sometimes we just need to get it out and into the ears of our spouse in order to start building that relationship. But letting your spouse know you are grateful with your actions is definitely going to speak volumes of your character and how much you really care and see and appreciate the thing that you're telling them that you appreciate them for. So I'm going to offer up 3 actions. There can be many different examples of actions, but the first one is a dinner date. This could be in the house or out of the house. You can say, hey, you know what? I seen that you cut the grass. I'm making your favorite dinner tonight. I love chicken tacos. And whenever I behave properly, my wife makes me chicken tacos. That lets me know that she's seen me doing something. She may not even tell me what that thing is. I get excited just thinking about chicken tacos. Moral of the story, whenever there is a thing that I do and she says, you know what, I want to show him love, I'm going to make him chicken tacos. She makes me chicken tacos. That that alone is me saying I acknowledge that I did something. Now I usually know what the thing is, but typically whenever I see chicken tacos, it's like, oh yeah, I'm like that is my report card, if you will, right? I get chicken tacos when I do good. I don't get chicken tacos when I do bad. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing that I'm kind of uh I guess trained to that, but there you go. The next thing that I would offer up is annual, monthly, weekly, or daily uh, gratitude books or letters. Now, obviously, I don't think you're going to do a daily book, but you could definitely do a annual book. I think monthly, weekly, and daily would be letters or just like small notes. The goal here, or the idea that I was thinking of here, is when you want to communicate. This could be in that email format, or if you want to go old school and do pen and ink, you write out the things that you appreciate about your spouse. And this is actually a fun drill to do, just to say, like, again, going back to logging all of the things that you see that your spouse is doing. When you go back to sit down and write this, it's a lot easier, one. But two, you can examine, like, what are the things that my spouse is doing and how long have I been going without acknowledging them? And then you can even check the block, like whenever you write an acknowledgement to them, like, hey, I seen you did this and thank you. You can check the block. So that way, for a fact that you are appreciating every single thing that they do. And it will make them want to do it more and better. Just trust me on this. It does work. Uh, Moral of the story, weekly, monthly, daily, you could write letters. And then if you say, you know what, once a year, I want to write, a small little book, and you could send it off to Staples and have them turn it into like an actual uh gratitude affirmation book, and give that as a gift on Valentine's Day, on Christmas, on your anniversary, on a birthday. Like, this is if you are building it all throughout the year, it shows how much you really care about your relationship, and it's going to continue to build your relationship and lead to a more successful marriage in the long run. So just keep that in mind. And then the last one is just a very simple gratitude gift that is not as elaborate as the book, but thinking along the lines of flowers, maybe a hobby related gift for whatever that thing is that your spouse is into. So this does require you to know your spouse, but whatever you think would be a good gift uh, for your spouse, that's what you go get them. And you say, hey, I noticed that you did this and I really appreciate it. Or I noticed that you've done a range of things. Here's a gift just to show my appreciation for what you've done. All right. That's what those three things are. Now, again, we're not doing this to program them emotionally or anything of the sort. What we're really trying to do here is build our relationship to uh, constant love. All right. And love is so watered down in our society today that we don't really understand how to love our wife or how to love our husband, right? But it's still something that we have to do. These are tangible ways, and I guess if whatever, these are ways that you can apply love to your marriage by doing these things. And if you don't do these things, then you can still show love, but it's probably not going to be reciprocated as well. And it won't resonate as well. But when you do these things, it's a little bit easier for that love to sink in. And that's the reason why we are going through this marriage success series. Say that 7 times fast. So, what I will leave you with is, I know that this is going to seem a little quirky or odd at first. Take it at your own pace. But if you're sitting there thinking, Chris, this is a stupid idea, this will never work in my marriage, figure out how it can work in your marriage. All right. It may not work as cookie cutter as I laid it out. And that's going to be with every concept that I ever share. Your marriage is going to be your marriage. And, that's where the necessity for having a coach. So, someone can come alongside you and say, hey, this is what I'm acknowledging in your marriage. Maybe you should try this concept, but like this. Same thing is going to happen here, where I'm giving you the concept and you're going to have to decide how it applies to your marriage. But if you give it an opportunity to thrive in your marriage, I can guarantee you're going to see a transformation for the better. How dramatic that transformation is really up to the way that you and your wife are working in your marriage, and how committed you are to building it. All right. Marriage is definitely one of those things that what you put in is what you get out of it. Now, that concludes today's episode on gratitude and part 2 of our marriage success. Tune in next Friday for the third part to our marriage success. If you got questions, send me an email. It's in the description box or the show notes below. If you're on a platform that allows for any form of interaction, I ask that you do interact with this podcast, thumbs up, rate, leave a review, everything of the sort. And if you think that this is value added for someone that you know, share it with a friend because the goal is really to help couples grow. All right. So until next time, I want you guys to find a way to love your spouse every day. Peace.